All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. I apologize, I hadn't made a longer form video here for a minute, but today what I wanted to talk about is the two different stages I see of people going over a breakup with a narcissistic person, where they're trying to break the trauma bond and they're trying to move forward, but it can be pretty difficult a lot of times. People really struggle, and I see them struggle in one of two areas. The first area is in the beginning, where they're probably going back and forth because they're in a trauma bond where they'll try to break up with the person. They see the narcissistic person as a problem. They aren't good for their life. But then when they leave, they miss them, because not only was the narcissistic person bad and bad for their lives, but they also provided highs too. And this is a part of the trauma bond that doesn't get talked about as much, but they were the source of the good feelings and bad feelings. So all of the normal people out there that don't have a cluster B disorder or who are narcissistic, they don't do it for people, especially in the beginning, until internally you get to a place where you're healed and you're not attracted to those kinds of people anymore. But how do you do this, right? So for me, in the experience I had, even after I knew someone was narcissistic, I still went back because I still was able to have fun with her for a little bit. Even though the same things would happen over and over, there would be a devalue and a discard, I was still able to have fun for a minute and hang out and hook up and do whatever. But it wasn't until I went no contact from all of it that I was able to finally see through the fantasy. I wasn't able to use it for the good things I was getting from it anymore. I just saw this is what's going to happen. I fast forwarded the tapes. I said to myself, I can't even be attracted to someone like that, really. That's eventually what I said, where I saw that the person as being more childish, and I was like, I just can't really do this anymore. So I went no contact, and I stayed no contact. And when I say no contact, I mean no contact from everything. No Instagram, no Facebook, no text messages, no nothing. No Messenger, Snapchat, because even the smallest bit of contact can keep the trauma bond alive and can prevent someone from healing. And that's how it was for me too, where even her just liking my stuff on Facebook or Instagram, that was honestly enough to keep the trauma bond going. And that was on me though. And I had to see through the fantasy. I had to stop just seeing the good of it, because that's how it is with a lot of people, right? They break up with someone, you forget all of the bad things, and your mind only wants to think of the good things and the good times, which makes you miss them. That's why the expression absence makes the heart grow fonder is a thing. But honestly, this is where our actions really need to follow through. And if we want to get better and we want to do better, so say you're a woman trying to stay away from a narcissistic dude. It's like you can't accept favors from them. It's like I always say, we should not accept favors from people who have abused us in the past. And you got to just leave them alone. Don't take the good things, because you can't have the good things without also getting the negative things too. So if we're serious, no contact no matter what. And then this leads into also, sometimes people will say they get jealous of their ex-narcissist. Even though they don't want them, they still get jealous, because often the narcissistic person will go out of their way to show others how happy they are or how great their new source of supply is. But this is where it's up to us to not shoot ourselves in the foot and torture ourselves. Don't check out their social media. Don't look into things that you don't want to know the answer to. Ignore them. Do not give it any attention. Our actions must communicate this, and we do it by simply going no contact. It sounds simple, but I know it can be very difficult, because a trauma bond is very similar to an addiction to drugs. And when you break up with a narcissistic person, it's not just like a normal breakup, it's a severe breakup, a trauma bond breakup, similar to that of an opiate withdrawal, where you'll have intense cravings for the narcissistic person. And you might want to think just about the good times and you want to block out the bad times. And again, people get embarrassed to talk about it like this, but in the beginning, that's exactly how it is. So the way out of it is no contact, no matter what. Don't check up on them. Don't scroll through their social media. Block them on everything. Unfriend them on everything. And the only exception to this is if you're co-parenting with them and you can't. That's the only exception. And even in that case, though, least amount of contact necessary, and you keep it to the kids. That's it. No personal information. Don't ask them about themselves. Don't let them ask them. Don't let them ask you about your life. No contact. No contact means no contact. And I'm not going to say it's easy in the beginning, but here's the thing. As time goes on, you will begin to heal a little bit each day. Each day you will improve and you will get a little bit better and you'll miss them a little bit less. And then you won't be able to see them for just the good things anymore. You'll get a proportional sense of balance with it. And you'll also begin to see more of the bad too. And you'll say, wow, I can't believe I was really even attracted to that person. I can't believe that I was so into that person. And that is the kind of point you get to where you kind of just think it's ridiculous. And you think, wow, I can't believe I was in a spot before where I was really into a person like that. But that's what the growth does for us. When we grow and we spend time away from them, we heal the parts of ourselves that was attracted to them to begin with. And it happens when we stop contacting them and we don't check up on them in any way. We just do us. That's how you improve. That's how you get better. That's how the healing goes on. That's how the recovery journey happens. But when you go back, and then God forbid, if you sleep with the person again or something, then the process starts over. Then the process starts over, and you get to do a new cycle of the withdrawal again and going back through the trauma bond's initial stages again. But no contact is the simple answer, even though I know it can be difficult. But that's how you do it in the beginning. And then secondly, the second part about not like keep on thinking about the narcissistic person and getting stuck ruminating on them is beating yourself up about it and saying, oh my God, I can't believe that I wasted so much time with this person. I can't believe that I let them fool me. I can't believe that I fell for their love bombing or their false self or whatever it was. And they just beat themselves up and they beat themselves up. And here's the thing about that. It doesn't do you any good to do that. Now, clearly you know that, but how am I going to tell you to reframe it so that you are the least likely to think of it in those ways? And I think what we got to do in this regard is you got to think, what is the lesson that I can learn from this? Because I choose to believe the universe put a narcissistic person in my life so I could heal the parts of me that needed healing, so I can grow, so I could learn things that I was supposed to learn. And for me, I choose to believe that radical self-respect was the lesson I was supposed to learn. And I think it's helpful to look at it through this lens where we think, what kind of lesson am I supposed to learn here? What is the universe showing me? Because if we don't heal the parts that were attracted to them to begin with, we are just going to find someone very similar to our ex anyway. So we got to do the work and we got to figure out what's the lesson. What is the thing we were supposed to learn? Maybe we're supposed to share about our experiences so that other people can identify. Maybe we're supposed to learn radical self-respect. Maybe we just got to realize the calm sea never made a skilled sailor. And life will be full of ups and downs. There will be turbulence. There will be cloudy days. But that's what makes you strong sometimes. And I think when you focus on the lesson and you focus on what you learned from it, even if it's just what to avoid in the future, I think that helps you to not beat yourself up anymore. It stops the ruminating when you can finally learn the lesson. And when you learn the lesson, then I think the ruminating stops. You don't beat yourself up anymore. And that's how I see it, right? I don't beat myself up over the situations I had. For me, it was a sixth sense moment where I began to see the patterns in my upbringing, the patterns in my extended family. And it became a relief when I was like, wow, thank goodness I learned about all of this stuff. And then when I came up with the concept of radical self respect, I was like, thank goodness I came up with this concept too. This is awesome. And maybe, just maybe, if it wasn't for that experience I went through, maybe I don't come up with that concept. Maybe that's not the name of this YouTube channel right now. And I've been able to turn the lemons into lemonade, where I've developed a good Facebook following. I've developed a good TikTok and Instagram following, and doing that on YouTube here too. So I was able to Aikido the universe a little bit. And that's what I challenge all of you to do too. So when you're struggling with the ruminating, Aikido it, jujitsu the universe, and say, hey, how can I use this to my advantage? How can I see this in a way that best helps my life today? And again, it's hard for me to say what it will be for each individual person, because for each individual person, it might be something a little bit different. So it's difficult to speak in generalities about it. So I can talk about my own experience. Like I said, my own experience was learning all about radical self-respect and learning to pay attention more to people's actions, much more so than their words. And concepts like the only people who will get upset when we place a boundary are people who benefited from us having none. All sorts of things I was able to learn because the narcissistic person in my life, it accelerated my journey of self-discovery. It accelerated my journey of growth. And I'm grateful for that. Now, again, I wasn't grateful for it at the time, but that's what I was able to shift it in my mind to think about it that way. And it's really helped. And I'm willing to work with people so that I can help you think of it in a way that helps you as well. There was a woman who reached out to me the other day, and, she's a very successful person. And I said to her, hey, maybe what you could do is you help people in your circle about this kinds of thing, because there are a lot of women who have experienced a narcissistic guy. I mean, name a woman out there that hasn't, for that matter. Almost every woman you speak to has had at least one narcissistic ex, and they'll be able to identify with you. Almost anything you share about it, they can probably relate at least a little bit. And so if you share about it, talk about it, even if it's just amongst your friends, I think that could be helpful enough. That's a good way to jujitsu the lemons the universe gave you so that you're using it for good. Because if you let the narcissistic person win by renting space in your brain, there's no use in that. That's not helpful, right? And I know it is like a drug. It's not like you consciously want to do that. It's just what ends up happening. But when you stay no contact, you don't look at their page, and you try to learn the lesson, and you pragmatically try to put it in a perspective that best helps you today, before you know it, you won't be thinking about them nearly as much anymore. And honestly, sometimes you got to stop watching the content about narcissism too, because in the beginning, especially when you do that, it will remind you of them. It will remind you of them. But now for me, since I create the content, I very rarely even think about the girl I was just talking about in this video. I don't think about it. What I do think about, though, is ideas for new content, of things to talk about that will help the person that is struggling with this today. And so I'm always appreciative when people share with me where they're at and what they're struggling with, because I've come a far way and I can forget. I forget what it was like in the very beginning. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. That's exactly how it was. But if anything, that should be hopeful for all of you, because that's how much better it can get. Like, you will forget. It'll get to a point where you forget how bad it was in the beginning of the trauma bond and moving forward one step at a time. And you'll get to a different place. And I don't say this to be condescending about it or to diminish anyone's struggles. I'm just sharing this so that it's the hope that there will be a point where you no longer obsess about them anymore. But that is only true if you stay no contact and then you learn the lesson. But staying no contact is first and foremost. You stay no contact, most of the other stuff will fall into place. But it starts with no contact and then doing the work on yourself so you just don't repeat the pattern again with somebody else. That's how it's done. It's a simple formula that can be pretty difficult in the beginning because it is absolutely like an addiction. But just like they say in NA or NA, don't use no matter what. Don't go back to the narcissistic person no matter what. Stay away. And with each passing day, it will get a little bit easier, a little bit easier, and a little bit easier. And before you know it, you'll be learning the lesson and you'll be able to convert life's lemons that it gave you into something beneficial. And I usually think the best way to get through something also is to help someone else through it. That is what I do on this channel. It's what I do on Facebook and Instagram. When you help someone through it, the pain and the suffering, it wasn't for nothing. It was for a purpose. And so maybe you won't do it on a very big scale, but whatever it is, I don't care what it is for you, but as long as it works, that's what I'm for. If it works, I'm all for you doing it. And if it makes you the happiest and healthiest version of yourself, hey, anyone who tries to tell you you're wrong is full of it, because there's many different ways to get through this, right? But usually no contact is the common denominator in them all. But after that, whatever helps is whatever helps. Don't let anyone judge you or tell you your boundaries are wrong or you're doing it in the wrong way. You know what's best for you. That's what radical self-respect is all about to me. Owning you, learning about who you are, owning who you are, taking bits and pieces from all the different kinds of people you're learning from, and then putting your own spin on it. That's how you know you've gotten to the next level, when you put your own spin on the things you've learned. And you're not just like copying someone else's stuff and parroting it. It's like, no, you learn and you take from everybody, but then you integrate it into yourself, whatever that is. So if you're out there and whatever stage you're in, whether it's the very beginning and you really want to reach out to the narcissistic person, just don't. No matter what, don't reach out. Don't check their page, because all you will do is probably find pain. It's like they say in Star Wars, if you look into the security tapes, only pain will you find. If you look at the narcissist page, or if you look at the narcissist phone, which you know as well as I, they would not like that very much at all you will find is pain. But then once you get no contact and you got that down, you heal the parts of yourself that was attracted to them to begin with. And before you know it, it'll seem silly even going back to them. And I don't say that again to be diminishing of people's struggle now, but it does get to that point where you will think of it that way. And it's a hopeful thing, really. It's a good thing to get to that point. And anyone who wants help with this, I'm more than happy to help them. Any questions you have, I would be more than happy to answer, or any even just content ideas of things people are struggling with. I find some of the best videos I come up with are because people asked me a specific question, and I think, okay, yeah, I'll answer this in a video, because if they're struggling with it, then chances are other people are struggling with it too. That's why there's no such thing as a stupid question to me. And whatever the questions are, ask away, because more than likely you are not the only one who has the question or is struggling with that concept. And again, a lot of radical self-respect is just owning it, whatever it is. Owning your way of thinking, learning, being open-minded, but integrating it into how you do things. So I think that's good for tonight here, but I just wanted to go over how you break the pattern of being stuck on the narcissist, how you break the addiction of the narcissist. You stay no contact and you learn the lesson and you grow. And you remember, don't let the narcissistic person rob you of your present. Do something good for yourself. Have some self-love, right? Maybe you learn a new skill, learn a new hobby, make a new friend, uh, do something at work, do a creative endeavor. Whatever it is, those are the things that we got to do for ourselves, because that will never be the wrong thing to do. So Samuel Webster says, let's see, time heals, time lets you think as at the time you were in love. Time away allows perspective and logic. Oh, it's you, Samuel. How are you doing? I didn't realize that was you for a second, but I remember you were emailing me not that long ago. But does time, I mean, it's corny, but time does heal all of the wounds. Time does heal. And before you know it, things change and you'll have new problems. And you won't be worried about the narcissistic person anymore. There'll be a new life problem in front of you. But you'll enjoy the process of growing through this first, because that's what it is. And when we learn to try to enjoy the turbulence and the ups and downs, because there will always be ups and downs. It's just a matter of what they are. They're never going to end, right? There'll be constant periods of growth and then struggle, growth and then struggle, and then round and round it goes. That's just how it is. And when we learn to accept that, when we get to the next phase of struggle, it doesn't knock us on our ass as much anymore. We're able to kind of go with it, like the Aikido or the Jiu-Jitsu concept. I think that's really helpful. It's a helpful way for people to look at it. So let me know what you thought about the thumbnail here today too. I tried something new because someone said to me my thumbnails were trash. So hopefully you don't think this thumbnail is trash, but let me know what you think about it in the comments. But with that, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Samuel, you take care, my man. I hope all is well. And yeah, have a good one.